Good morning. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Lily. Oh, thank you. Now I know I'm being heard and seen. So over on the YouTube side, they put ones in. If I can be heard and seen, I appreciate that. So I'm gonna wait a couple minutes and let other people come in. Oh, the dog is behind me, sleeping. I just got back from a walk. Only the second walk I've done this year so far, besides at work. I got a little lazy. All right. So this is a judgment-free zone. Please refrain from rude comments, saying bad things to each other about being an alcoholic or an addict. This is a meeting to help others who still suffer and who are sober. So please just refrain from doing that. Yes, my sister will be 11 on Sunday. So proud of her. Super excited that she has made it to 11 years right behind me, and I couldn't be more happy about that. So, anyways, I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. If you're new here, welcome. Please feel free to be in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, you can comment if you don't mind other people knowing that you're a recovering addict or anything like that, an alcoholic. I do this because I was given the free gift from AA, and so I share it as my service work. Anyways, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like I said, if you're new, welcome. We're all newcomers at one point. So we are reading the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. And I get the steps and traditions out of the front of the book. Oh, so 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we undertook Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And being the next week will be on Thursday evening, we will be reading the traditions. I'll be doing the steps and traditions before I start reading, just so you know. It's going to be longer. But anyways, I always put in a description what book I'm reading and what page or step or tradition or whatever I am reading. So we are in the traditions book, 12 steps and blah, blah, blah. 12 traditions book, step 12, on page 114. If you don't have a book, don't worry. I'm going to read it anyways. Our basic troubles are the same as everyone else's, but when an honest effort is made to practice these principles in all our affairs, well-grounded AAs seem to have the ability, by God's grace, to take these troubles in stride and turn them into demonstrations of faith. We have seen AAs suffer lingering and fatal illness with little complaint, and often in good cheer. We have sometimes seen families broken apart in misunderstanding, tensions, or actual infidelity, who are reunited by the AA way of life. Though the earning power of most AAs is relatively high, we have some members who never seem to get on their feet money-wise, and still others who encounter heavy financial reverses. Ordinarily, we see these situations met with fortitude and faith. Like most people, we have found that we can take our big lumps as they come. But also, like others, we often discover a great challenge in the lesser and more continuous problems of life. Our answer is in still more spiritual development. Only by this means can we improve our chances for really happy and useful living. And as we grow spirituality, we find that our old attitudes toward our instincts need to undergo drastic revisions. Our desire for emotional security and wealth, for personal prestige and power, for romance, and for family satisfactions. All these have to be tempered and redirected. We have learned that the satisfaction of instincts cannot be the sole end and aim of our lives. If we place instinct first, we have got the cart before the horse. We shall be pulled backwards in disillusionment. But when we are willing to place spiritual growth first, then and only then do we have a real chance. My ears are bugging me. After we come into AA, if we go on growing, our attitudes and actions towards security, emotional security, and financial security commence to change profoundly. Our demands for emotional security for our own way had constantly thrown us into unworkable relations with other people. Though we were sometimes quite unconscious of this, the result always had been the same. Either we had tried to play God and dominate those about us, or we had insisted on being over dependent upon them, where people had temporarily set us run their lives as though they were still children. We had felt very happy and secure ourselves, but when they finally resisted or ran away, we were bitterly hurt and disappointed. We blamed them, being quite unable to see that our unreasonable demands had been the cause. When we had taken the opposite track and had insisted, like infants ourselves, the people protect and take care of us, or that the world owed us a living, then the results had been equally unfortunate. This often caused the people we had loved most to push us aside, or perhaps desert us entirely. Our disillusionment had been hard to bear. We couldn't imagine people acting that way towards us. We had failed to see that through adult in years, we were still behaving childishly, trying to turn everybody, friends, wives, husbands, even the world itself, into protective parents. We had refused to learn the very hard lesson that overdependence upon people is unsuccessful, because all people are fallible, and even the best of them will sometimes let us down, especially when our demand for attention become unreasonable. As we made spiritual progress, we saw through these fallacies. It became clear that if we ever were to feel emotionally secure among grown up people, we would have to put our lives on a give and take basis. We would have to develop the sense of being in partnership and brother or brotherhood with all those around us. We saw that we would need to give constantly or of ourselves without demands for repayment. When we persistently did this, we gradually found that people were attracted to us as never before. And even if they failed us, we could be understanding and not too serious affected. When we developed still more, we discovered that the best possible source of emotional stability to be God Himself. We found that dependence upon His perfect justice, forgiveness, and love was healthy, and that it would work where nothing else would. If we really depend upon God, we couldn't very well play God to our fellows, nor would we feel the urge wholly to rely on human protection and care. These were the new attitudes that finally brought many of us an inner strength and peace that could not be deeply shaken by the shortcomings of others, or by any calamity not of our own making. This new outlook was, we learned, something especially necessary to us alcoholics. From alcoholism had been, or sorry, For alcoholism had been a lonely business, even though we had been surrounded by people who loved us. But when self-will and had driven everybody away and our isolation had become complete, it caused us to play the big shot in cheap barrooms and then fare forth alone on the street to depend upon the charity of passerby. When we when we're still trying to find emotional security by being dominated or dependent upon others, even when our fortunes had not ebbed that much, and we nevertheless found ourselves alone in the world, we still vainly try to be secure by our unhealthy kind of domination or dependence. For those of us who were like that, AA had a very special meaning. Though it through it we begin to learn right relations with people who understand us. We don't have to be alone anymore. Most married folks in AA have very happy homes. Most. To a surprising extent, AA has offset the damage to family life brought about by years of alcoholism. But just like all other societies, we do have adult relations and marital problems, and sometimes they are distressingly acute. Premature marriage, breakups, and separations, however, are unusual in AA. Our main problem is not how we are to stay married. It is how to be more happily married by eliminating the severe emotional twists that have so often stemmed from alcoholism. Nearly every sound human being experiences at some time in life a compelling desire to find a mate of the opposite, a word I can't say on YouTube, with whom the fullest possible union can be made, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. This mighty urge is the root of great human accomplishments and creative energy that deeply influences our lives. God fashioned us that way. So our question will be this: how, by ignorance, compulsion, and self-will, do we misuse this gift for our own destruction? We AAs cannot pretend to offer full answers to age-old perplexities, but our own experience does provide certain answers that work for us. When alcoholism strikes, very unnatural situations may develop, which work against marriage, partnership, and compatible union. If the man is affected, the wife must become the head of the house, often the breadwinner. As matters get worse, the husband becomes a sick and irresponsible child who needs to be looked after and extricated from endless scrapes and emphasis. Very gradually, and usually without any realization of the fact, the wife is forced to become the mother of an erring boy. And if she has a strong maternal instinct to begin to being with. The situation is aggravated. Obviously, not much partnership can exist under these conditions. The wife usually goes on doing the best she knows how, but meanwhile, the alcoholic alternately loves and hates her marital care or maternal care. A pattern is thereby established that may take a lot of undergoing later on. Nevertheless, under the influence of AA's 12 steps, these situations are often set right. When the distortion has been great, however, a long period of patient striving may be necessary. After the husband joins AA, the wife may become discontented, even highly resentful that Alcoholics Anonymous has done the very thing that all her years of devotion had failed to do. Her husband may become so wrapped up in AA and his new friends that he is inconsiderately away from home more than when he drank. Seeing her unhappiness, he recommends AA's 12 steps and tries to teach her how to live. She naturally feels that for years she has made a far better job of living than he has. Both of them blame each other and ask when their marriage is ever going to be happy again. They may even begin to suspect it had never been any good in the first place. Compatibility, of course, can be so impossibly damaged that a separation may be necessary. Find my spot. I know I said unnecessary. But those cases are the unusual ones. The alcoholic realizing what his wife has endured and now fully understands how much he himself did to damage her and his children nearly always takes up his marriage responsibilities with a willingness to repair what he can and to accept what he can't. He persistently tries all of AA's 12 steps in his home, often with fine results. At this point, he firmly but lovingly commences to behave like a partner instead of like a bad boy. And above all, he is finally convinced that reckless romancing is not a way of life for him. AA has many single alcoholics who wish to marry and are in a position to do so. Some marry fellow AAs. How do they come out? On the whole, these marriages are very good ones. Their common suffering as drinkers. Their common interest is AA and spiritual things, often enhance such unions. It is only where boy meets girl on a campus and love follows at first sight that difficulties may develop. The prospective partner need to be solid AA and long enough acquainted to know that their compatibility at spiritual, mental, and emotional levels is a fact and not wishful thinking. They need to be as sure as possible that no deep lying emotional handicap in either will be likely to rise up under later pressures to cripple them. The considerations are equally true and important for the AA who marry outside AA. With these clear understandings, the right grown up attitudes, very happy results do follow. And what can be said of many AA members who, for a variety of reasons, cannot have a family life? At first, many of these feel lonely, hurt, and left out as they witness so much domestic happiness about them. If they cannot have this kind of happiness, can AA offer them satisfaction of similar worth and durability? Yes, whenever they try hard to seek them out. Surrounded by so many AA friends, these so called loners tell us they no longer feel alone. In a partnership with other women and men, they can devote themselves to any number of ideas, people, and constructive projects. Free of marital responsibility, they can participate in enterprises which would be denied to family men and women. We daily see such members render prodigies of service and receive great joys in return. When the possession of money and marital things was concerned, our outlook underwent the same revolutionary change, with a few exceptions. All of us had been spendthrifts. We threw money about in every direction with the purpose of pleasing ourselves and impressing other people. In our drinking time, we acted as if the money supply was inexhaustible. So between binges, we sometimes go to other extremes and become almost miserly. Without realizing it, we were just accumulating funds for the next spree. Money was a symbol of pleasure and self-importance. When our drinking had become much worse, money was only an urgent requirement which could supply us with the next drink and the temporary comfort of oblivion brought. Upon entering AA, these attitudes were sharply reversed, often going far, often going much too far in the opposite direction. The spectacle of years of waste threw us into panic. There simply wouldn't be time, we thought, to rebuild our shattered fortune. How could we ever take care of those awful debts? possesses and decent home, educate and or educate the kids, and set something by for old age. Financial importance was no longer our principal aim. We now clamored for material security. Even when we were well established in our business, these terrible fears often continued to haunt us. This made us miserable and penny pinchers all over again. Complete financial security must have, or else. We forgot that most alcoholics is AA, have an earning power considerably above average. We forgot the immense goodwill of our brother AAs, who were only too eager to help us to get better jobs when we deserved them. We forgot the actual or potential financial insecurities of every human being in the world. And most of all, we forgot God. In money matters, we had faith only in ourselves and not too much of that. This all meant, of course, that we were still far off balance. Then a job still looked like a mere means of getting money rather than an opportunity for service. When the acquisitions of money for financial independence looked more important than a right dependence upon God, we were still the victims of unreasonable fears. And these were fears which would make a serene and youthful existence at any financial level quite impossible. But as time passes, we found that with the help of AA's 12 steps, we could lose those fears no matter what our material prospects were. We could cheerfully perform humble labor without worrying about tomorrow or circumstances happening to the good. We no longer dreaded a chance for the worst, for we had learned that these troubles could be tortured or be turned into great value. It did not matter too much what our material condition was, but it did matter what our spiritual condition was. Money gradually became our servant and not our master. It became a means of exchanging love and service with those about us. When, with God's help, we calmly accepted our lot, then we found we could live at peace with ourselves and show others who still suffer the same fears that they could get over them too. Just a second, I gotta respond that I'm live. Okay. we found that freedom from fear was more important than freedom from want. Let's here take note of our improved outlook upon the problems, our personal importance, power, and ambition, and leadership. These were reefs upon which many of us came to shipwreck during our drinking careers. Practically every boy in the United States dreams of becoming our president. He wants to be his country number one man, his country's number one man. As he gets older and sees the impossibility of this, he can smile good-naturedly at his childhood dream. In later life, he finds that real happiness is not to be found in just trying to be a number one man or even a first rater, in the heartbreaking struggle of money, romance, or self-importance. He learns that he can be content as long as he plays well whatever cards life deals him. He's still ambitious, but not absurdly so, because he has now because he can now see and accept actual reality. He's willing to stay right size. Looking down still my neck. But not so with alcoholics. When AA was quite young, a number of eminent psychologists and doctors made an exhaustive study of a good-sized group of so-called problem drinkers. The doctors weren't trying to find how different we were from one another. They sought to find whatever personality traits, if any, this group of alcoholics had in common. They finally came up with a conclusion that shocked the AA members of that time. Sorry, not long. Putting words that don't go somewhere. These distinguished men had the nerve to say that most of the alcoholics under investigation were still childish, emotionally sensitive, and grandiose. How we alcoholics did resent that verdict. We would not believe that our adult dreams were often truly childish, and considering the rough deal life had given us. We felt it perfectly natural that we were sensitive. As to our grandiose behavior, we insisted that we had been possessed of nothing but a high and legitimate ambition to win the battle of life. In the years since, however, most of us have come to agree with those doctors. We have had much keener look at ourselves and those about us. We have seen that we were prodded by unreasonable fears and anxieties into making a life business of winning fame, money, and what we thought was leadership. So false pride became the reverse side of that a ruinous coin marked fear. We simply had to be number one people to cover up our deep lying insecurities. In pitiful successes, we boasted of great feats to be done. In defeat, we were bitter. If we didn't have much of any worldly success, we became depressed and cowed. Then people said we were of the inferior type. But now we see ourselves as chips off the same old block. A heart we had all been abnormally fearful. It mattered little whether we had sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves into forgetfulness or had plunged in recklessly and willfully beyond our depth and ability. The result was the same. All of us had nearly perished in a sea of alcohol. But today, in well matured AAs, these distorted drives have been restored to something like their true purpose and direction. We no longer strive to dominate or rule those about us in order to gain self-importance. We no longer seek fame and honor in order to be praised. When by devoted service to family, friends, business or community, we attract widespread affection and are sometimes signaled out for posts of greater responsibility and trust. We try to be humbly grateful and exert ourselves the more in the spiritual of love and service. True leadership, we find, depends upon able example and upon vain displays of power or glory. Still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not have to be specially distinguished among our fellows in order to be useful and profoundly happy. Not many of us can be leaders or prominence, nor do we wish to be. Service gladly rendered, obligations squarely met, troubles were well accepted or solved with God's help. The knowledge that at home or in the world outside, we are partners in a common effort. The well understood fact that in God's sight all human beings are important. The proof that love freely given surely brings a full return. The certainly, I don't know that word, sorry. Hi, Char. That we are no longer isolated and alone in self-constructed prisons. The surety that we need no longer be square pegged in round holes, but can fit and belong in God's scheme of things. These are the permanent and legitimate satisfactions of right living, of material possessions could possibly be substitutes. True ambitions is not what we thought it was. True ambitions, the deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under the grace of God. These little studies of AA 12 steps now come to a close. We have been considering so many problems that it may appear that AA consists mainly of racking dilemmas and troubleshooting. To a certain extent, that is true. We have been talking about problems because we are problem people who have found a way up and out, and who wish to share our knowledge of that way with all who can use it. For it is only by acceptance and solving our problems that we can begin to get right with ourselves and with the world about us, and with Him who presides over us all. Understanding is the key to right principles and attitudes, and right action is the key to good living. Therefore, the joy of living is the theme of AA 12 Steps. With each passing day of our lives, may every one of us sense more deeply the inner meaning of AA's simple prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that was step 12, a long one. But it's the truth. It is teaching us the do's and don'ts, the right and the wrong, ways that we can fix it and ways we can destroy it, or that we had destroyed it, and then ways that we are fixing it. That's what the 12 steps is all about. That's what I get out of it. When you learn to use your steps on a daily basis and you automatically know the do's and the don'ts, which I still have my flaws. I still make bad choices. I still say and do some stupid things, but we all do. We're human, and we have to all live in this world, and just us alcoholics or addicts need extra help. And we do need the groups to be able to help us come up and out. Hi, Cheryl. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. But the ups and downs of Alcoholics Anonymous is we are learning ways to keep us sober after we get sober, or vice versa. I should have said that backwards. To get sober and use our stuff going forward. I don't know, but it works. It works, and I'm proof of that. My sponsor is proof of that. The 12 steps work. And we do have people that go back out. And yes, I have to admit, I am one of those that when I first started AA, I first started getting myself out there to help others, and I was helping family members. I got to where if they didn't stay sober and I found out that they went back out, I flipped my wig. I flipped it. And being in AA as long as I have been, I've learned that we're all just human, and sometimes when people come into AA, it's not the right reason at that point in time for them. Sometimes some of us get it on the first try, and I feel like I am one of the lucky ones because I consider myself an old timer now, and I just want to help that next one. I want to help anyone that I can. And by doing the meetings here, doing this service work helps me to remind me of why I do the steps and work it every day. Because I don't want to be out there doing the dumb things that I was doing before I found AA. Drinking, number one. That and I do not get along. And because I know that drinking and I don't get along, I also know that if I'm drinking, I don't get along with anyone. I don't even really get along with myself. And I remember that. And I think I will always remember that because I didn't like who I was drinking. And I don't ever want to go back to that person. That person wasn't nice. That person was greedy and only wanted her liquor. No matter how I got it, I would borrow money from people and not pay it back. And so, you know, for the alcoholic to come into AA the first time, it's difficult. Even though I had admitted that I was an alcoholic before I started AA, because I admitted it to myself well before I went to AA. And I went out after a year of sobriety without AA. And so, because I did that, I know that it is true that it will only take one drink. And taking that one drink scares me. I don't want to do that. And believe me, I had those dreams of drinking and waking up and thinking, good, I'm still sober. I don't like that person. I don't mind people drinking, but I also know kind of how to walk away and let the person who is suffering figure it out. And my sponsor taught me that when I first started AA. And she taught me that because I was nagging my sister to come to AA. And my sister finally came to a meeting. And her first meeting, I was so surprised and so happy that she was there. And I thought, this has got to work for her. It's working for me. It's got to work for her. And I was so grateful for my sponsor and for reading the books and going to the meetings. Just only 8 months before my sister being sober, she came in, and that was the best day for me as a recovering alcoholic to see that I And she's not the only person I've helped, but she shares her story too. So, and my sponsor does as well. But to get that help, it was all striking to me. Like, this is going to work. My sister's here. We're going to do this together. And thank you for coming, Will. Thank you for getting sober when you did and being on this sobriety journey with me and staying sober every day, even when crap gets tough and you want to throw in the towel and say, screw it all. I have to say it's hard to deal with, and we're doing it sober. And if you're new coming to a meeting, don't be scared. You're always welcome, and the people there are very friendly and are willing to help and are there to listen as well, and not judge you for your things that are in your alcoholism, and be there to help any way we can. Most of us don't have money though, so the way of AA is free. The only thing that they ask for in meeting groups is, donations for rent and coffee and those things. But we don't, it's free. And I love you too. Yes, we are old timers. And I'm very proud to say that, and I'm proud of everyone that gets sober, even if it's your first day. You can do it. Uh, you got this. You can do. Um, yeah, coffee. Yes, I didn't do that. I was. I think it was my second meeting. I was asked to put up pamphlets. And so I was pretty proud of being that. I got to put up all the pamphlets in a little stand thing, and yeah, service work is it's cool because you get to know the other people in the meeting quite well, and you get to be friends with them, and it's awesome to see that we do exist and we can live life without the alcohol, and still be part of society, and um, just live, and it's great to be sober. Yes, my oldest son, he is a dad, and um, I I kind of knew that I had a grandson. Um, 11 years ago, I found out that him and his partner at that time were um, pregnant, and things between them went split. And but it's been 10 years, and I have been praying that I would get to know that he is my grandson and that he will be part of my life. And he is my grandson, and he is part of my life now. And I have a granddaughter on top of that. So I feel very blessed and very lucky to be a grandma and be a mom and be a friend, a sister, a cousin, an aunt, and being part of society and being sober. And I don't have money. I have a lot bigger than that. And people always say, well, you gotta have money, you gotta have this, you gotta have that, you gotta buy this, you gotta buy that. And not everybody can go out and have the best extravagant things and the big all those things and still live happily. And so that's AA 12 steps working. I also got to see both my kids graduate. Well, I got to know that one of my other relatives graduated right after my two boys did, and I'm proud of all of them, even if they don't talk to me anymore. Um, I just hope this works for everybody like it has me. But anyways, look, I'm proud of you. I will call you on Sunday. So be where your phone will work, hopefully. Or I'll just tell you when you get home. Anyway, guys, that's going to conclude the meeting today. Thursday, we start on the traditions. And yeah, fun. I hope you guys have a great week. And I will see you tomorrow at Ava Potterfield and Friends for Morning Talk with Ava. And thank you all for being here and being part of my meetings. And like I said, if you are struggling with addiction or any of those things, please reach out. Hospitals, churches, a friend, a family member. There's help absolutely everywhere. And you just have to want to take that first step and start your journey. That. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Love you guys.